The EU Vice President has set out plans to deal with the row over Northern Ireland's border post-Brexit. The measures, including reducing checks on goods between the British mainland and Northern Ireland. President Putin says European countries should not blame Russia for high gas prices, saying they failed to replenish their stocks during the summer when costs were lower. He denied Russia was using energy as a weapon. The Star Trek actor William Shatner has gone into space on board the Blue Origin rocket. He's become the oldest person to fly to the edge of space. And the International Energy Agency says the world needs to spend trillions of dollars more on new sources of renewable and clean energy in order to combat climate change.
The World Health Organization has proposed a group of 26 experts to advise on new infectious diseases, including scientists who studied the new coronavirus. In Kosovo, local media say police clashed with ethnic Serbs during an extremely tense operation against illegal trafficking in goods. In Sweden, U.S. and European officials promise not to forget World War II's genocide against Jews during a conference in Malmö. And a Danish artist is seeking the return of his artwork in Hong Kong, honoring victims of the 1989 military attack on protesters in Beijing.
The European Union has announced that it's raised a massive sum from green bonds in just a day. It pulled in more than 12 billion euros or over $13 billion from its first issuance of bonds to fund environmental programs. The European Commission says the amount is the largest ever raised from green bonds. The offering began on Tuesday. The EU plans to issue up to 250 billion euros worth of green bonds by the end of 2026. The Commission will use them to finance environmentally friendly projects. This includes the construction of wind power plants in Lithuania and digitalization at car factories in Germany. Commissioner for Budget and Administration Johannes Hahn said the issuance is a powerful signal of the EU's commitment to sustainability. A Chinese government official says recent comments by the Taiwanese president do not reflect the will of the people in Taiwan. President Tsai Ing-wen said the Taiwanese people will not bow to pressure to accept Beijing's rule. Tsai made the remark on Sunday at celebrations for Double 10 Day, which Taiwan considers to be its founding day. She also said Taiwan will do its utmost to prevent the status quo from being unilaterally altered. China's Taiwan Affairs Office spokesperson hit back at the speech on Wednesday.
The shared desire of people living in the mainland and Taiwan is to oppose Taiwan's independence and to seek a peaceful development of relations across the Taiwan Strait.
The spokesperson defended recent entries by Chinese military aircraft into Taiwan's air defense identification zone as absolutely just actions. He also said the drills are aimed at maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Taliban representatives have held face-to-face talks with a joint European Union and U.S. delegation on measures to avert a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. The meeting was held in Qatar shortly before the G20 summit took place. During the talks, the Taliban acting foreign minister Amir Khan Muttaqi reportedly said any weakening of the government would have a negative impact on the world, with deteriorating security in the country and a flood of economic refugees. The envoys said they hope to increase humanitarian aid to Afghanistan by the end of the year. The country is now facing a cash shortage and looming economic disaster as the Afghan government's overseas assets have been frozen since the Taliban takeover. The acting foreign minister asked the envoys to unfreeze the assets, believed to amount more than $9 billion. He said the money is needed to pay for, among other things, the salaries of some 500,000 government employees going back several months. Myanmar's detained president has testified that the military threatened and tried to force him to resign hours before a coup early this year. Win Min appeared in court on Tuesday. He was detained on February 1st, along with State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi. He's been on trial for multiple charges, such as incitement. In his testimony, Win Min said military officers approached him early that day and told him to resign on the grounds of ill health. He said they warned him he would face serious harm if he refused. But he told them his health was fine and that he would rather die than consent. Myanmar's military has sought to justify its grip on power by alleging fraud in last year's general election, which was won by the Democratic camp led by Aung San Suu Kyi. But some legal experts have suggested the moves military leaders have since made are unconstitutional, including appointing a former military officer to replace the president and declaring a state of emergency. A memorial service has been held on the Indonesian island of Bali to remember the victims of the 2002 bombings. About 100 people gathered on Tuesday at the site of the deadly terrorist attack. They offered prayers for the victims in front of a monument inscribed with their names. The attack killed more than 200 people. Most were foreign tourists.
I hope Indonesia will be a society where people can live without terrorism and victims.
Members of the Jemaah Islamiyah militant group detonated bombs in a busy tourist district on October 12, 2002. The Islamist group is believed to be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. It has continued to carry out acts of terrorism across Indonesia since the 9/11 attacks in the United States. The Indonesian government is on the alert for terrorist acts within its borders now that the Taliban has regained power in Afghanistan. The Islamic State militant group has been carrying out attacks there. Now to the latest on the coronavirus situation in Japan, where case numbers continue to fall. Health authorities say the number of new infections across the country in the week up to Tuesday was just 60% of the figure from the previous week. The health ministry held a meeting on Wednesday to give updates on the situation. Officials said that the number of new cases has been trending down in almost all regions and that the government would remain vigilant.
I think it's important to assume a range of possible scenarios and take thorough steps to ensure safety as the spread of the virus subsides.
Amid the falling cases, the government is focusing on shoring up the availability of vaccines and treatments. Prime Minister Kishida Fumio told the Diet that the government will intensively support the development of homegrown vaccines and medications.
To deal with powerful mutations and new infectious diseases, we will offer intensive support for research and development on an industry, government, academia basis. We'll offer support for domestically developed vaccines. We'll also work to improve the clinical trial environment and set up production bases and speed up the approval process for COVID-related products.
Kishida added that the government aims to finish inoculations for all those who want them by early November. Meanwhile, some areas are moving to resume economic activities. In the western prefecture of Hyogo, managers of hotels and traditional inns met with the governor. They called on residents to take advantage of a campaign to support the local tourism industry.
We hope the campaign will energize businesses and visitors. We want to offer our hospitality so people can enjoy their travels.
Hyogo Prefecture is set to start the promotion on Thursday. It offers subsidies to local tourists who've received 2 doses of the vaccine. The pandemic has severely affected school children in Japan. The Education Ministry has reported a record number of truancies and suicides among students in the last academic year. A nonprofit runs this center near Tokyo for children who say they can't or won't attend school. Its staff currently care for 140 children. Around 30 of them joined after the coronavirus situation began. This 4th grader says the pandemic soured the relationships with his friends.
I was suddenly called idiot and told to die by my friend who I used to get along with. I felt bad.
Education Ministry officials say more than 190,000 primary and junior high school children did not attend school in the past academic year through March. That figure is an all-time high, up nearly 15,000 from the previous year. The figure for primary school children has tripled in the last 10 years. It's grown by 50% for junior high school kids. Suicides are also rising. 415 children in primary to high school age took their own lives last year. The number nearly tripled over the past decade. Takahashi Satomi studies children's mental health. She calls for an immediate action to address the issues.
We need to recognize once again that children are feeling more stressed than we adults believe, as their contact with friends has drastically lessened. We also have to be more conscious of opportunities which allow children to interact with each other.
Education Ministry officials say they'll work to encourage children to seek help. They'll also ensure learning opportunities for kids who cannot go to school. It's been 2 years since Typhoon Hagibis caused river levees to burst in Nagano Prefecture, central Japan. People in one heavily damaged district are calling on the local government to build public housing there, but authorities will not agree to the construction. Torrential rain led levees to collapse on 6 rivers in the prefecture, leaving 23 people dead. More than 6,900 houses were damaged. 918 people were still in temporary housing as of October 1st. Residents of the Naganuma district alongside the Chikuma River want public housing built for affected people there, but the city has ruled it out. Officials say it's difficult to secure safe land because the district has a risk of flooding. They also say the residents have the option of living in public housing under construction in a neighboring district. The residents say they know the flood risks, so they have their own evacuation procedures. They say all residents would be able to safely take shelter even before the authorities issue an evacuation order.
It was a repeat of hope and disappointment. It would have been better if city officials had explained to us earlier about the decision on whether they would build it or not build it.
The residents say if the public housing is not built, some people have no choice but to leave their hometown. Temperatures were much cooler across Japan Wednesday, but that doesn't mean warmer conditions are done for the season. Our meteorologist Sayaka Mori has a look at the forecast in World Weather.
Hello there. On Wednesday, the daytime high in Tokyo was 18.5 degrees, making it more like early November. But this frontal system, which caused colder conditions, will move away, so temperatures will be rebounding to more average levels on Thursday. 23 is expected high for Tokyo, warming up to 27 on Friday, and it's going to be much cooler next week. The highs will be in the teens almost every day. Severe tropical storm Compass has dropped copious amounts of heavy rainfall over southern Taiwan and the northern Philippines. Parts of Taiwan saw about 1.3 meters of rainfall since Monday, and Luzon saw over 600 millimeters of rain in 24 hours. That's much more than the monthly rainfall for October. We have some video coming out of Luzon. Compass caused flooding and landslides in the Philippines. Officials said 11 people have been killed. Search and rescue operations for the missing people have been underway. Compass affected southern China, including Hainan. It's likely to make the second landfall in northern Vietnam on Thursday afternoon local time. Meanwhile, people in St. Paul, Alberta saw beautiful northern lights. Take a look at this footage. A solar storm created a beautiful sight in parts of Canada Tuesday. The northern lights vividly colored the night sky as energy from the solar eruption arrived in the Earth's atmosphere. People were also able to see the aurora borealis in New York, Seattle, Vancouver, and Calgary, as well as the United Kingdom. That's it from me. Have a nice day.